Hey, what's going on everyone? It's Jacob. In this video, I want to talk to you about the importance, the power, the value in the first few hundred. I've called this video the first 100, but like the first few hundred people in your tribe, in your audience, who start following you as a brand, who start, become part of your herd, as Dan Kennedy calls it, but come into your world when you start putting out content. Okay, we're going to talk about the importance of those people and why it's really powerful and why there's high value there, and how you can harness that and give you a bit of encouragement if you're in that early phase, because I know those first few hundred can be a grind, but I want to give you some perspective around that all, and I think it'll help you push through to keep growing that into the thousands. Okay. Before we dive into that, be sure to subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon so you get notified whenever I drop a new video. Give the video a like if you get any value, and leave any questions or comments below, and I'll do my best to get back to you throughout the week. So, if you watch much content on this channel, you'll know that I talk about building an audience, building a brand, and then real strategies to monetize those assets. Okay. Now, when you're doing that for the first time, when you start putting content out there, when you start trying to build an audience in whatever niche, it's a grind. Like, let's not sugarcoat it. It's a grind because no one knows you, right? And it's like when you're trying to first push that boulder and you're trying to get up some momentum, no one knows who you are. So it's going to take a bit of time to build it up. It doesn't take that long. It just takes a bit of work, a bit of effort, a bit of strategy, and a little bit of a sprinkle of time, okay? Which surprisingly, or not surprisingly, most people are resistant to allowing that ingredient into the mix, but that's a topic for another day. So while you're in that phase of getting those first few hundred people, I know it can suck, and your skills probably aren't at a level that you want them to be yet, which is making it even harder, but it's all part of the journey. It's all part of the experience. But what I wanted to remind you all of is that the people that come into your audience, come into your world in those early phases, if you approach it the right way, can be some of your most loyal and committed followers through the whole journey. Okay, so I want to share a little bit of a story with you about this. So back when I first started my Facebook group, which has now got about 4,000 or so members, and I was first growing it, it was an interesting phase of life because I was working a full-time corporate job. I was doing the 60, 80-hour weeks, and then I remember I'd run home at lunch, or I'd get home at 10 o'clock at night, and I was in this mode of doing these daily live videos because I was really trying to jolt the Facebook group algorithm to get the engagement up, and it was working. We were growing, and I can remember I was sitting there one night with a mate of mine, and I had this idea to do a Facebook Live challenge, and I set a couple of parameters around it, and a lot of people do these now, but I had the idea back then to give it a go, and so I said, anyone who wants to do the challenge can go live in the group for 10 days. Here's the 10 topics. So I made it easy for people. I gave them the topics so they didn't have to think about it. You must support your fellow members. You must watch someone else's lives. You must interact with them. I set some minimums around it. And anyone that does that, I'll do a coaching call with. I had my results back then from blogging, and I was starting to get results through the Facebook group and running some ads and doing those kind of things. So I could definitely help people out. I said, I'll do a coaching call with you for half an hour. This worked way better than I thought it would, and had two pretty surprising outcomes. One, we had quite a few people stick through and actually do it. And I have people to this day who still talk about it and reach out to me about it. I had a guy not long ago reach out to me and say, hey Jacob, even though I didn't continue on with affiliate marketing, that live challenge pushed me out of my comfort zone and allowed me to go on and find what I wanted to do and have gone from strength to strength. So I wanted to say thank you, right? And this is the power of a small community. This is the power of a community early on. Most people are going to have the mindset of it as a bad thing, right? That there's not a lot of engagement, that there's not that many people in there. But you can, this all comes down to flipping your perspective on things. Stop looking at that as a bad thing and think about how can I turn this on its head and get some advantage from it, right? One of my students has a Facebook group that's got like 250 people, but it's such a cool environment because she's got such a unique style. She gives people unique opportunities. She does different things and she monetizes it. But the fact that it's small is an advantage. So you've got to start flipping your perspective on these things. And just because you don't have the biggest group in the world, that's not necessarily a disadvantage, right? The power in those small communities and the power in those first 100, 200, 300 people can stick with you for years, as it has with me. Some of the people that came into the group back then, participated in that challenge, I still talk to, right? I would consider them friends because before, more and more people get to know you, they see you early on in the journey and they become really involved and they buy into the process and they follow that journey along with you, right? So rather than having a negative or a bitter approach to it and going, my group's not growing as fast as I want it to, or my channel's not growing as fast as I want it to, or my Instagram's not growing as fast as I want it to, or my profile, whatever platform you're trying to grow on, is think, how can I make this experience really unique for these people? Because if I do that, if I really help them out with something, if I help them overcome their fears, if I help them overcome their problems, if I give them a platform to do something that other people haven't given them, or I really help them out one-to-one, one-to-many, however it may be, if I can really nurture these first few hundred people, then in 12 months' time, 24 months' time, 5 years' time, a good chunk of them could still be with me. Right? And that can form a really, really powerful part of your business from a customer perspective, but from a relationship perspective as well, because those people will back you up, right? Those people, when the haters inevitably come, when you get big enough, those people will back you up. They will be there to go in to fight for you because they've been there from day one. They know you're a genuine person, assuming you are. They've seen you put in the yards and they will go into bat for you. Right? It's all about changing your perspective and putting in a bit of extra effort, being a little bit proactive, showing a bit of initiative and resourcefulness of how can I'd rather have a big audience because it means I'm going to make more money. Not always the truth, but as a general rule, sure. But how can I take this small audience and turn this into a real asset, rather than viewing the fact that it's small as a liability, right? That's a mindset shift right there. Like you're looking at something from a positive perspective rather than a negative perspective, which will change everything in itself. But then when you actually go about doing it, you're going to get to know these people really well. You're going to get to know your market really well. This is a huge advantage when you can talk to people directly, when things are small, when things are manageable. You can really get to know their pains, their problems, their goals, their aspirations, their desires, and that can fuel everything. Right? You can massively over-deliver to these people who will go out and spread the good word for you that you are a helpful person. Okay, there's all of these advantages that you have over someone with a bigger audience, but it's just how you shift your perspective, right? So stop looking at it as a massive negative and look at it as building the foundation of your business for years to come by really working closely with these people who are taking the time while you're new at this to engage with your content, to show up in your group, to watch your YouTube videos, to like your YouTube videos, to comment on your YouTube videos, to engage with the post on your profile. Whatever they're doing, if they're following you, if they're giving you their time, their effort, think about how can I create a unique experience for them that's going to help them with whatever issues that they've got. Right? And if you can't find out what some of their problems are, then you're just not digging hard enough, because everyone's got fucking problems. Everyone's got issues. Everyone wants to achieve something that they haven't already achieved. If you've got a group full of people who are perfect and they've hit all their goals, you probably don't have a group full of humans. It's more like robots or something. But you get my point. Everyone's got issues. They're there for a reason. They want help with things. How can you help them? How can you give them an experience? How can you make this small community memorable So they'll stick with you along the journey. They'll buy your products. They'll go into bat for you when things don't go well. They'll become like a little part of your family, right? And that Facebook Live challenge is just an example of one of them. And as I said, some awesome stories have come out of that. Some awesome relationships have come out of that. One of the guys I bumped into at Funnel Hack, a couple of them I bumped into at Funnel Hacking Live, and we had a good chat. It's awesome. It also comes back to remembering that even though a lot of what we do, or 90% of what we do is digital, you watch me on a camera, you talk on Facebook, you just see a little display picture or like an avatar or whatever you want to call it. They're all real people, right? There's a person sitting behind that computer who has pains, problems, goals, aspirations. They're all real people, right? Really keep perspective on that, and it will shift how you approach content. It will shift how you approach running your business. So figure out how you can harness that small audience that you've got and bring them along on the journey with you, right? That will be a massive asset along the way. You just need to look at some of the big guys out there in the space. They've got people who have been with them from, day one, right? Because they looked after them. They gave them value. They resonated with them on some level. They jived, and they've come on the journey with them, and they've seen them ascend, right? And one common objection I hear around this, especially in the internet marketing world, is, Jacob, why would anyone pay attention to me when they can pay attention to someone like yourself, or they can pay attention to someone who's even further progressed than I am? And the answer to that is pretty simple. It's relatability. I can sit here and talk about the things that I've done, but for some people that's going to seem too far away, right? Whereas if they can find someone online that they can follow who's, in the last few months gone through what they're just experiencing now, and you can help them avoid those pitfalls, that's really powerful. And people latch onto that, right? So that sharing that journey from the ground up is a massive asset, and you can take that small, tight-knit, group of people along the way. You'll still make money. You're just delivering more value to that small community of people, and they can come along the journey with you. Okay, so flip the perspective on having a small audience from this sucks, I have a small audience, to this is an asset. I need to get a little bit creative. I need to show a little bit of initiative, a little bit of resourcefulness. How can I make this a unique experience so these people want to stick with me for the long journey? Assuming you're in this for the long journey and you're not here just to make a quick buck. Because if you're here to make a quick buck, I would encourage you just to give up now, because it's not the right approach to this thing. It's a business. You got to build it that way. Okay, so think about it from that perspective. Even just shifting your view on that will make you enjoy the process more, because you'll view it in a positive light instead of a negative light, right? And remember too, numbers are a vanity metric, right? Numbers are a vanity metric. Just because someone's got a massive group, if those people aren't looked after, if those people have no reason to engage, if those people can't be monetized, all these things, that vanity metric is nothing. Okay, keep that in mind along the way too. Not everything is as it seems when it comes to audience size, engagement, even. Like, it's not just how many followers do you have or how many subscribers do you have, right? It's what you do with the people in the audience, both in terms of how you look after them, how you deliver value to them, how you give them an experience, and how you monetize it as well, okay? So keep that perspective in mind. That will help you build momentum while you're growing your audience from the ground up, because I know it can be a drag. I know it can suck early on, but stick with it. It'll be one of the best things you ever do to build an awesome community of people who are on a similar page to you, because they will be, because otherwise they wouldn't really follow you if they don't kind of jive with the way you approach things. And give it 12 months, you could have this awesome community that you're at the head of, and you can take it in whatever direction you want, and you can monetize it, which is really fun too. So keep all that stuff in mind. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. Check out the Super Affiliate Accelerator if you want help from myself and my team in terms of getting that brand off the ground, in terms of building that audience the right way, and then how do you start monetizing it with proven marketing and sales strategies. Check that out. There's a link in the description. I'll talk to you all in the next video. Cheers.